Okay, good evening, friends. Today we'll start with our psychology lecture from where we left. Now, you see, we are going in a very systematic manner rather than telling you everything, rather than giving you information in a haphazard manner. We are following a sequence. So, as I told you, that today we'll have our lecture number 15, psychology. What we have covered till now? We have covered under the research method. We saw that there is a sequence. First of all, problem statement will be there. After the problem statement has been formulated, the researcher will look for a hypothesis. After the hypothesis has been formulated, then the researcher will look at research design. We talked about problem statement, we have talked about hypothesis, we have talked about research design. The thing is that the research design requires you to know things. Whatever we have covered till now is enough, and you need not worry about the content being left at all, because when we do our test, whatever is left in the classes, it will be covered through that. What you have to do, you have to cover each and every lecture very carefully, note down your own jottings, then I will also provide you the material. Then you have to just follow the test, which will be based on my technique of PYQs, recent trends, including the current affairs, theory paper and applied paper, combining both of these, so that you have a complete idea of how the questions will be asked and what will be your presentation there. So after the research design is done, the researcher then goes to the sampling. Sampling and data collection. Once the researcher has zoomed down to a particular research design, it may be experimental design, or it may be non-experimental design, quasi-experimental design, various types of research design as we have talked about earlier in the last class. After that, the researcher will go for the sampling process. Sampling. What is sampling? What are the types of sampling? What are the advantages and disadvantages of sampling? What are the advantages and disadvantages of different types of sampling? That we'll see today. What is sampling? Sampling is a statistical technique that you have to understand. Sampling is a statistical technique. In which what is done? We select a part of, a subset of larger population, so that the selection or the subset is representative and unbiased. So a representative and unbiased subset of the population is called sample. Fine, this is the definition. Now we'll understand what is the example. Suppose we want to study the IQ level of civil service aspirants. civil service aspirants across the country in India. We cannot reach to each and every aspirant. That will be very resource intensive. When we say resource intensive, and you should also use these kind of words. One word which will catch the essence of so many other things. It will take so much of time. It will require lots of money. It will require a lot of your human beings, the people who will conduct this. So it is resource intensive. These kind of activities which requires lots of time, energy and money, that is resource intensive. UPSC preparation is resource intensive, especially when the coaching institutions have such a way in which they make everything complex. You might be knowing few of the coaching institutions which have come up of late. They are being run by those officers who had joined the services but they left. They are not IAS, but in the market, the kind of image they have built, it's like these people are IAS and IPS officers, but actually they are not IAS. They had joined a group B service which they did not find lucrative because they wanted to earn more money. They shifted to coaching business. This is the common tendency of most of the coaching institutions. Many of the coaching institutions have backing of the black money. Now, if you have the backing of the black money, what will happen? You will not run after the selection of the students. You will just ensure that the black money is whitewashed and it becomes white. That's it. So, to cut down all these things, we have initiated our endeavor, and we are trying to make it as less resource intensive as we can make it by using our creativity, by using the technology, by having the right kind of students who also understand that there is a need for change. Okay, so what we'll do now is, rather than going to each and every aspirant, we'll see a representative set of students. That will be your sample. How it will be done? You go to Old Rajendra Nagar or Mukherjee Nagar or any other hub where most of the students who want to prepare for UPSC have their footfall. You suppose the aspirants preparing for UPSC are 10 lakh. 10 lakh aspirants prepare for UPSC. What we should try is that neither going to each and every aspirant nor going only to the 10 aspirants, but keeping a number which is optimum. What is the optimum number? Like we can interview 1000 students, or we can interview 10,000 students. 10,000 students will be 10% of it. 1,000 students will be 1% of your total number of population. So we'll try to make it as representative as possible. This is your population, total number of students, 10 lakh students. Out of that we selected 10,000 students, 10k. Here it is 10 lakh. Now these 10k students, they when you study them, when you ask them in the interview questions which judge their IQ, the reading comprehension question, the verbal ability question, the numerical ability question, DI, LR and all this, basically a paper of CSAT, will be able to give an idea about their IQ, where they stand, intellectual intelligence quotient. This is how you will select the sample. So you see, the sample is selected so that it is representative of the whole population in all characteristics. Like this sample should have equal number of boys and girls. This sample should have students from all across the country, all states. This sample should have students for all categories, general, OBC, SC, ST, all of them should be there. This is the idea behind sampling. And sampling is done to ensure that we save our time, money, energy, and due to some other reasons. We'll cover that. So this is your sample. What should a sample look like? What are the characteristics of a sample? Because as I've told you, it's a statistical technique. It's a statistical method through which the sample is selected. It is not just randomly done. There are two types of sampling which are done. We'll see the types of sampling later on, but here just giving you a summary. Types of sample. Samples are of two types. The probability sampling and second one is your non-probability sampling. Probability and non-probability. These two types of sampling are done. Under the probability sampling, each and every person in the population has equal chance to be a part of the sample, or a defined chance, which is exactly defined. Okay, this much chance you have. Each and everyone has a defined chance and all of them have equal chances. That is probability. When the sampling is done based on the convenience of the sampler, based on the availability of the subjects, the availability of time, energy, money, then it is non-probability. It does not follow any mathematical formula. It does not follow any systematic method. It has its advantages and disadvantages. But how should a sample look like? First of all, we'll see that. The characteristics of a sample. For the sample, the definition is quite simple. Unbiased and representative subset of the population is your sample. First and foremost, sampling technique should be, sampling method should be goal oriented. What does goal oriented mean? Goal oriented means the researcher will see the hypothesis, researcher will see the problem definition. Accordingly, the researcher will define the research design. So, what is the main frame of the study? What is the goal of the researcher? That will define the sample. According to the goals of the researcher, sample is collected. So sample should be based on the goal. What goal do we want to reach? What goal do the researcher want to meet? That is, if the researcher wants to study the IQ of the civil services aspirants, then accordingly the sample will be made in a random way. Sample will be made in a random way. That means that whenever we are choosing a sample, it is done randomly. That we are not showing any biases, that we should select only urban area student, leaving the students from village area, students from hinterland. Okay, so it is based on randomness. Then it should be, as much possible, it should be based on probabilistic methods, because it will ensure that the sample is representative. In this case, when it is not based on any mathematical formula, the probability, the chance of the sample being representative is very less, because we are showing our bias, selection bias, selecting the people who are very near to us. Like if you are staying in Rajendra Nagar, you will reach only people from Rajendra Nagar, students from Rajendra Nagar, that too who are near your flat, near your home, near your house. That is a bias sampling. The sample collected in this method is easy to get. Very less money will be utilized. But then the sample is not representative also. And because the sample is not representative, the accuracy of the data collected will be very less. And because of this, the generalizable theory cannot be reached. We cannot generalize the findings which we do from the sample to the whole universe. And there it fails the criteria of psychology being called science. That is why in most of the cases the researcher looks for probability sampling. There are different types of probability sampling, that also we'll see. First we have to understand the characteristics of a sample. Firstly, it has to be goal oriented. According to the goal of the study, according to the aim of the researcher, the sample is collected. Then second, of course, it has to be proportional, it has to be representative. The sample must be proportional. That is, if it is the whole population itself is of 1000, then at least 10 people are trying for 100 people in sample. Suppose these are 10,000 students. We have to make a sample of 1000 or 100. Representative, proportional. We cannot say the population is 10,000, let's ask only 5 people. That will not do the justice, because 5 people may be coming from a same area of Bihar or Jharkhand, same area of Tamil Nadu or Kerala. So it has to be proportional. According to the size of the population, the sample itself will be having its own size, having its own capacity. First is your goal oriented, then it is proportional or representative. Then the third characteristics of a sample is it is random. We don't know whom to choose. We just blindly select people. The crowd is there, out of that we'll just throw a dice, we'll just throw a ring. Whosoever catches the ring will be part of your sample. That's not defined on any particular mathematical formula. That is random. Then randomness, you understood, there is no bias we are showing. Everybody has equal probability, equal chance of getting selected in the sample, especially in the probability sampling. In non-probability sampling, everybody has not got the equal chance to get selected. Everybody has no defined chance of getting selected in the sample, but still, although being biased, some definition is there according to which we are doing. Either only people from north, as I can tell you, when exit poll is there. The researcher has known that if we ask people of Delhi, they will be able to give the clear picture, complete picture about what will happen in the next election 2024. Because Delhi people are smart, they watch the news, they are also involved in the discussions. They are seeing the governance very closely, and that is why they are in a position to tell us about the 2024 situation. So if a cross section of Delhi population is surveyed, they will be able to give us the situation about 2024 elections. That is why here the researcher does not go for probability sampling. Here the researcher is doing only non-probability sampling. But still there is a definition. Still there is a way of doing it. So it is done, of course, randomly. Then it is proportional. It is goal oriented, random, proportional. And then apart from that, of course, one thing which cuts across every endeavor in life is economical. It has to be economical. If you waste all of the resources in sampling only, how will the research will be done? How will the research get done? if we waste all the resources on the sampling part only, because there comes another thing. After sampling, statistical analysis has to be done, then interpretation of the analysis, then finally report writing. So many activities are left, and it is quite possible that after doing the sampling also, the researcher comes to know that this is not the right research design, because research does not take place in a sequential manner. The researcher is involved in so many activities. Like I told you, in grounded theory approach, open coding, axial coding and selective coding takes place not only simultaneously but in a haphazard manner. All of them are going simultaneously, all of them are going not one by one but parallelly also. There is no defined sequence that after open coding, axial coding and that sequential coding only. No, after axial coding, the researcher may come back to open coding also. That's also a truth. So it has to be economical. Don't waste all your resources. Whatever activity you do, you should also keep in mind that you are not wasting your resources. Doing 2 months only for polity, no, that is not required. Just take Laxmikant's book, see the previous year question papers, select your syllabus. That's what we are going to do. We are also trying to bring a software which will cut across each and everything and give you a very defined syllabus according to data analysis, data analytics, using artificial intelligence to understand where you are, what is your benchmark, AI. So economical it has to be, then it has to be practical. We cannot say that each and every student who is in Old Rajendra Nagar will be part of our sample. We don't know. It's a floating population. It's quite possible that overnight, because of the fear of the CSAT, so many students from a particular state, they left Old Rajendra Nagar. So we won't be able to gauge to get their pulse of understanding regarding CSAT. Practicality should also be part of the sampling. These are the characteristics of a sample or characteristics of a good sample. Good sample is economic, good sample is practical, good sample is random, good sample is goal oriented, good sample is representative. Finish. So how many characteristics you got? 5. One is your goal oriented, second is your representative, then after it is random, goal oriented, random, representative, economical and practical. Or you can change it or leave it. That's good. Now you can find an acronym, make it a short mnemonic like PRGRE. GRE is an examination to get admission in foreign universities, especially in the master's level. PRE is your personal branding. So when you do your GRE, your PR will be good. When you pass your GRE examination with flying colors, your PR will be very, very good. This is how you can remember it. After doing GRE, somebody's PR became very good. That's how you can make a story. Okay. So these are the characteristics of sample, characteristics of good sample, characteristic of good sampling technique. Whichever question is asked out of all these three, the answer is same. This is how we need to simplify each and everything. Now the question is, why are we doing sampling? What is so good about sampling that we have to follow it? Why can't we just follow the census? What is census? Census was done recently in Bihar. Caste census. Which caste is having how much percentage of the population? Which caste is involved in which activities? Which caste is having their socio-economic status? What is their socio-economic status of each and every caste? So we'll follow sampling because of certain reasons. Something is, this is your population, and if you are doing survey or if you are asking questions from each and everyone who is part of the population, then it is called census. And if you define a small part of it, just this part, this will be your sample or sampling. If you just carve out this part, this is your sample. And if you go and ask question to each and everyone who is part of the population, then it is census. So you understand why sampling is done? Sampling is done because of these reasons. What are the advantages of doing sampling, and what are the reasons because of which we do sampling? Advantages of sampling. One, the most important, accuracy. Then the detail. And 3, reliability. Accuracy, detail, reliability. What is that called? Accuracy, detail, reliability. Now you must be wondering, why is it accuracy? You can remember like this, ADR. Because if we go and ask each and everybody their opinion, will it not be a better idea? How is it accuracy then? Suppose each and every person, and all of us are biased, some bias we all carry, which is the best coaching institution in your old Rajendra Nagar or all across the country. Since some people who might have heard about only particular coaching, they'll say that this is the coaching which is the most successful, because they have seen their ad. Their ad is running in social media, offline, everywhere. You go and ask this question to each and everybody. The bias which was shown by one person will get compounded or not? The error committed by one person will be compounded further. All of them will be committing some error. Suppose you ask somebody, how many people from this, how many students do you think clear civil service examination from old Rajendra Nagar? One person, he says that 60%, although the reality is 45%. He is wrong by 15%. So 15% of error committed by this person. Likewise, all of them will be committing some or the other error. Sometimes the error committed are positive and negative both. So overall error gets cancelled. There is zero error. But largely, in case of sampling, in case of each and everyone who is part of population being asked the question, there is high tendency, high chances that each and everyone commits some error, small error. This small error gets compounded if we ask each and everybody, and there will be our total sum of small errors, and that error will be very big, huge error, because we are asking each and everybody in the population. So the accuracy can be ensured by having a representative sample, so that even if the error is there, it either gets completely cancelled or get cancelled effectively. Like the error committed by, like 10 is the number of our sample, total number is 1000 or maybe 100, that will be a better idea. The population number is 100 and the sample number is 10. 10 people out of 100 are selected. This person commits some error, positive, another person commits negative. Likewise, there is a chance that by the time we reach to 10th person, either the error will be 0 or it will be very, very less. Whereas if we go to the 100 people and ask each and everybody their opinion, it is quite possible that the error gets compounded and it becomes so big that we cannot eliminate it. So better idea is to keep the number of, that is the numerical appeal of the sample as optimum, neither too less nor too high. Optimum. Accuracy addressed, then comes your detail. You see, why are we selecting the sample? Why can't we ask one person, as generally happens? You go to Rajendra, you ask one person, what do you think about the performance of particular coaching? That one person says the performance is very bad, and you make an assumption. You make an assumption that this is very bad coaching. Is there a detail? The answer is no. When we ask each and everybody in the population, is there a detail? The answer is yes, but that is too detailed. So what we have to look for? Optimum detail. It's very important to understand that optimum accuracy, optimum detail. If you have to reach to the optimum detail, because you are not asking only one person, you are not asking all the 10,000 people, you are asking only 100 people. So there is an optimum detail. Accuracy, detail. R is your reliability. Since the sample is representative part of the part of the population, we can easily say that the conclusions drawn from the sample will be reliable. That is, we can easily generalize it. It can be utilized for the whole population as well. So it will be like ADR. Accuracy, detail, reliability. These three are the advantages of using sampling technique. Advantages. Can there be any disadvantage also of using sample? Definitely are. What are the disadvantages? This is your advantages. What are the disadvantages of sampling? First and foremost, because of the sampling, we get sampling error. What is the meaning of sampling error? Suppose there are 100 students and we are asking their opinion. Their opinion, what do they think about the examination? Then we will make an average of it. Despite the fact that we have tried to keep the sample size optimum, There may be a case where the sample is saying something else. Suppose the sample, the 10 people give different reactions to how many percentage of students get selected from Old Rajendra. Somebody says it is 61, some 62, some say 58, 59, likewise. If we average the sample for the 100 students, then it will be somewhere near 55%. But actually, what is the reality? We have seen that only 45% get selected from Old Rajendra Nagar. This is the population figure. And what about the sampling? Sampling figure is 55%. So, there is a difference between these two, and this difference is called sampling error. So, the disadvantage of having a sample is that sampling error. It is quite possible that we show a bias while we are selecting the sample itself, that I want to talk to only students coming from Rajasthan. Will that be a bias? Yes. What kind of bias? Sampling bias. The bias shown while choosing the sample itself is sampling bias. There is sampling error, there is sampling bias. Then there may be a faulty frame. What is faulty frame? The method through which the sampling will be done, it does not include all the criteria. That is why there is an error. That error is called frame error. Why are we counting the frame error? Is the overall error in a sampling method consists of sampling error, frame error, and chance error. Sampling error, the error between a sample and the population. Frame error because of the faulty definition of the frame. Faulty definition of frame means what? Faulty definition of frame means that finally those people who become part of our survey, they have not been defined in the manner in which it should have been. Then there are certain other errors which are happening as a matter of chance. That's also part of error. Sampling error, frame error, chance error. Primarily, the disadvantage of sampling can be defined in three terms: sampling error, second is your frame error, and then chance error. Chance error is an error which is happening, as the name itself suggests, as a chance. Sampling error is happening because there is a difference between the characteristics of the sample and characteristics of the whole population. There is a difference between their final conclusion, that's why there is an error. There is a difference because the technique of the sampling was itself not accurate, and that's why there is a frame error. There is another error because of the just a matter of chance, just a random chance. That is chance error. And overall error is your sampling error, frame error, chance error combined. Now, what are the types of sampling? Types of sampling. Basically, there are two types of sampling only. One is your probability sampling, another one is your non-probability sampling. What are these two? Probability sampling, as the name suggests, is a sampling done in a manner that each and every subject of population has equal or defined or and defined probability of being part of sample. When each and every member of the population has equal chance or a defined chance, either there can be equal chance because we are doing random sampling, randomly picking up any one, then it will be a equal chance. But when we say that suppose there are 5 students sitting in a row, or more than that, we say every third student, that we start from here 1 2 3, then from here 1 2 3, then from here 1 2 3, likewise. So there is a method. So in this one also there is a defined chance. Mathematically, if you calculate, there is a defined chance. So either there is equal chance or a defined chance, or both of them are also there, equal and defined, then it will be probability sampling. What is non-probability sampling? Non-probability sampling, as I told you, what is non-probability sampling, NPS? What is that? When the sampling is done according to the convenience or availability. Convenience of the researcher who is doing the sampling, availability of the subjects. If the subjects themselves are not, that how will the sampling will be done? If these are based, these are your criteria upon which the sampling is based, then it is called non-probability, because there is no mathematics here, because there is no equal or defined probability of every subject getting selected as part of the sample. It's simple. What are different types of probability sampling? What are different types of non-probability sampling? That we'll see further. Right now we'll see the advantages and disadvantages of sampling. Which one? Probability sampling. Which one? Non-probability sampling. What are the advantages of probability sampling? What do you think? Advantage of first and foremost, it is representative. A sampling which is done by a certain formula or randomly also, where each and every subject of the part of the population has equal chance of being part of the sample, then it will be representative, of course, because each and every one has the same probability of getting selected. Because of it being representative, the conclusions drawn from the sample will be easily generalizable, representativeness and easy generalizability. These two are the factors which are the advantage of probability sampling. What are the disadvantages? The disadvantage of probability sampling: one, as I told you, resource intensive. Time, money, energy involved here will be very high. Why so? Because we are defining a formula according to which the sampling will be done. Then you have to be very accurate in your calculations. Suppose there are 10 lakh students and we have to get a sample. Whether we should keep the size at 1 lakh or we should keep the size at 10,000, we don't know. Since we don't know, we will not be able to reach to the probability sampling. But if we do some calculation and we reach the accuracy level, to keep the accuracy at optimum level, we'll reach a certain formula that for the 10 lakh population, for a particular study, we should keep the sample size at 10,000. You have to be very accurate. High accuracy is required. Advantages and disadvantages of probability sampling. See, there are so many advantages and disadvantages which can be enumerated there, but there is no point enumerating those advantages and disadvantages which are part of these main ideas. If you remember the main ideas, that is what our endeavor is, that is what our innovation is. We are giving you only the important ones, which you have to understand, remember, and then reproduce in the examination to get marks. As simple as that. Giving you 10 points where 8 points are nothing but the repetition of the first 2 points is not going to serve the purpose. Neither should you do it. Especially in this pattern where they are asking you to write 10 marker, 15 marker and 20 markers. 30 marker, 60 marker, 90 marker days are gone. Okay, now we'll go to non-probability sampling advantages. What is the advantage? The biggest advantage, easy. It is easy to do because of high flexibility and less resources will be required. Very less resources will be required. It is easy to do. It is flexible. Non-probability sampling. Probability sampling is rigid. Probability sampling requires you to be accurate. Probability sampling is resource intensive. This is the first advantage of non-probability sampling. Then we go to the second point. Non-probability sampling. Non-probability sampling, what is the advantage? Non-probability sampling advantage. Okay, what is the advantage non-probability sampling? If you have to do a study about a particular specific group, suppose you want to study the demographic characteristics of civil services aspirants from a particular group of states, South Indian states. As you know that a particular area in Delhi is dominated by coaching institutes whose owners are from South India. So the South Indian students feel more affiliated to go to these coachings. So you will do that specific study about a particular group. So if you have to study a particular group, then non-probability sampling is advantageous. Helps in studying a specific group. Whenever we are supposed to study a particular group, a specific group, then we can go for non-probability sampling. This is the biggest advantage. Easy, flexible, less resources are required, at the convenience, at the mercy of the sampler, at the availability of the subjects. That was so easy to do, but there is a disadvantage also. What is the disadvantage? What are the disadvantages of non-probability sampling? First and foremost, it is not representative, non-representative. The sample you achieve from this are non-representative. They are not representative, because once you reach to a formula according to which you will define your sample, it will be representative. And since it is not representative, it is not generalizable. Two points here: not generalizable, non-representative. These two are connected, that you have to remember. So this solves a large part of our syllabus. Sampling, definition, you have understood the concept, you have understood how sampling is done, what are the criteria to choose the best sample. We will see in next classes what are the types of probability sampling, what are the types of non-probability sampling, their advantages and disadvantages. I will also give you a diagram which I want you to think about as well. Suppose this is the population and this is the sample, or say this is your sample. Then you have to think about where can we represent how can we represent this is your sample. This is your population. In this, how can we represent sampling error, frame error and chance error? This, just you think about it. We'll cover this in the next class. Apart from that, we'll also cover different types of sampling, like probability sampling, which are the types, non-probability sampling, which are the types. Today we are cutting short the class. We are not keeping a longer class because of the various festivities around. And since as you know that we are going to put up an organization to touch more of the students, so that expansion responsibility also lies with me. Very soon when we have a system at place, we'll keep longer classes. Thank you very much. Enjoy your Diwali. Happy Diwali.